It's amazing how even in a galaxy like Star Wars with, so many iconic heroes and villains, it's often those characters who are kind of caught in the middle, the ones wrestling with tough choices who really stick with you. And I think for a lot of folks who loved Andor, Vel Sartha is one of those characters. There's so much more to her than just, that incredible Aldhani heist.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Vel really grabs you because she's introduced right in the thick of the rebellion, like she's already in the action. But then as you watch, you start to see all these layers to her, all these hints of a past that's way more complicated than you might expect. Like, even if you haven't seen all the Star Wars movies or shows, you can tell right away that there's a bigger story with Vel, and you just want to know more.
Yeah, totally. And that's what we're diving into today. We've, done a ton of research on Vel, going all the way back to her early years, looking at all the things that shaped her, the choices she made, what drives her. And, with Andor Season 2 on the horizon, we thought it would be awesome to really get to know her better. What makes Vel Sartha tick? Why does she resonate so much with fans?
Well, to really get her, you got to start with where she came from.
Yeah.
So Vel is a human woman, and she's from Chandrila. That's a planet that's always been associated with like big ideas, democracy, freedom, that kind of thing. But Vel's story takes a bit of a turn there. See, she was born into serious wealth and privilege. Like, she was an heiress said to inherit a fortune. And get this, she was also a cousin of Mon Mothma.
Whoa, hold on. Mon Mothma? As in, like, future Rebel Alliance leader? Senator Mon Mothma. That Mon Mothma.
The one and only.
Yeah.
So imagine that being related to one of the most important figures in the fight against the Empire.
So we're talking, like, a life of luxury, probably a ton of political influence, right? But wait, you said her story takes a turn. So what happened?
Right. That's where things get really interesting with Vel. She basically said, no thanks to all that privilege. Like, she walked away from it all. The wealth, the comfortable life, to pursue something more, something she believed in. That's not your typical era story.
Wow. That's a powerful statement, It's like she's saying that there's something more important than just being rich and comfortable.
Exactly. And it's not just some random character quirk either. I think this decision, her rejecting that privilege, tells us so much about Vel. Like, she's not motivated by personal gain or power. She's driven by a sense of justice, by doing what she thinks is right, even if it means giving up everything she's known. And, it also gives us a glimpse into the early rebellion, the kind of people who were drawn to it, these individuals who were willing to risk everything for what they believed in.
It's interesting, though, because her decision to join the rebellion wasn't just based on, like, abstract ideals, right? It was fueled by real personal experiences.
Right, exactly. I mean, from what we know, she saw the Empire's injustices firsthand. Like, she witnessed the cruelty and oppression up close. And that's what really pushed her to take action, to fight back against the Empire.
So that's how she ends up connecting with Luthen Rael and his whole underground network, right? This network that was the foundation of what would become the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah, exactly. And her personal life is intertwined with the rebellion too. She was in a relationship with Cinta, who was also deeply involved in the resistance.
Yeah.
It makes you think about, the personal stakes for everyone involved in those early days. They weren't just fighting for a cause, they were fighting for their lives, for the people they loved.
So it wasn't just an ideological commitment, it was also deeply personal. It makes their sacrifices even more real, And it adds another layer of complexity to Vel's story. So let's fast forward a bit. Let's talk about the Aldhani heist, the mission that takes place in 5 BBY. That's the moment a lot of viewers really got hooked on Vel's character. What can you tell us about that operation, the plan, the stakes?
Oh yeah, the Aldhani heist, that was huge. It was a really audacious plan, super risky. Basically, they wanted to infiltrate this heavily guarded Imperial garrison on the planet Aldhani and steal the entire sector payroll. I mean, we're talking about a massive amount of credits here. And it wasn't just about the money, it was a symbolic victory. A way to hit the Empire where it hurt, to show them that they weren't invincible.
It was a big blow to their resources and their morale, but they needed a way in, right? Like, how do you even begin to plan something like that?
Right. They needed someone on the inside. And that's where Lieutenant Gorn comes in. He was an Imperial officer stationed at the Aldhani garrison, but he'd become disillusioned with the Empire. He'd witnessed their brutality firsthand, specifically the death of a local Dani woman. That was his turning point. He knew he had to do something to stop them.
Wow, so Gorn was key to this whole thing, providing all the inside information, the layout, the security protocols. Talk about putting your life on the line for the cause.
Exactly. And Vel, she assembled a team for this mission. There was Cinta, of course, and Arvel Skeen, Tarim Barcona, and Karis Nemec. Each of them had their own reasons for joining, their own skills to contribute, their own baggage too, I guess you could say. It was a diverse group, for sure.
A real mix of personalities, all united against the Empire. So tell me, what about the Eye of Aldhani? I remember that being a big part of the plan. How did that factor in?
Oh yeah, the Eye of Aldhani. That was a rare celestial event, like an eclipse or something, that happened every so often on Aldhani. And they knew they could use it to their advantage. It would create chaos, disrupt the Imperial routines, give them a window of opportunity to infiltrate the base.
Clever. So they set up their camp in the Aldhani Highlands, waiting for the Eye to provide cover for their attack. But then right before the mission, things get a little complicated.
That they do. That's when Luthen Rael brings in this new guy, Cassian Andor, going by the name Clem at this point. And let me tell you, Vel was not happy about it.
We've been eating roots and sleeping on rocks for this rebellion, and now you've got a mercenary on board. Oh man, she did not hold back, did she? That quote really captures her initial reaction to Andor.
Yeah, she was furious, and she had every right to be. This guy just shows up out of nowhere, right before their biggest mission yet. And Rael's basically like, take him or leave it, meaning the whole mission was off if she didn't accept Andor. But here's the kicker. Rael made her lie to the team and tell them that bringing Andor in was her idea all along. Talk about a tough spot.
Talk about pressure. I mean, to have to bring in this total unknown right before such a high-stakes mission and then lie to her own team about it. That had to create some serious tension within the group.
Oh yeah, big time. And a journey to the camp with Andor was tense too. Vel was constantly questioning him, warning him not to mention Rael. She was trying to figure him out, trying to assess if he was a threat, if he could be trusted.
It's like she's trying to regain some control over the situation, after being forced to bring in this wild card. And let's be real, the rest of the team wasn't exactly thrilled about Andor either, were they?
No, not at all. Like, Skeen and Barcona were immediately suspicious. They saw him as an outsider, a potential liability. And Barcona even challenged Vel about it directly, like, where did you find this guy? But Vel shut him down. She said Andor was good backup. End of discussion. It's like you could feel the tension in the air.
Yeah. That's Vel in leadership mode, making the tough calls, even if everyone else is questioning her decisions. It's got to be tough, though, trying to maintain that authority when you're also keeping secrets from your team.
Oh, absolutely. And it almost blows up in her face when Barcona presses her again about knowing Andor. She gives this vague answer about him being highly recommended, but Skeen totally sees through it. But Vel, she sticks to her guns. She emphasizes that they need another team member, and she cuts off the conversation, citing security concerns. It's a classic leader move. Balancing the need to trust your team with the need to make tough decisions, even if they don't fully understand them.
Then you have Gorn showing up, and he is not happy about Andor either. But Vel stands firm. She says he has no say in the matter, basically telling Gorn that Andor is staying, whether he likes it or not. It's like, even though she might have her own doubts, she's carrying out Rael's orders no matter what.
Yeah, she's caught between a rock and a hard place. And despite those reservations about Andor, she still takes the lead in briefing him on the whole heist plan.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this guy's here now. We got to make this work. And she's not going to leave him out of the loop. She understands that for the mission to succeed, everyone needs to be on the same page.
Right. And that brings us to a really key moment in the planning. They're talking about the getaway vehicle, this Max 7 Rono box freighter, and Andor, he calls them out. He basically says, none of you can even fly this thing. He sees right through their lack of piloting skills. And Vel, she has to admit he's right. She lets him take the controls, even though it probably bruised her ego a bit. It shows a real willingness to adapt, to put the mission above her own pride.
And you see that same pragmatism again when they're observing the Imperial troopers practicing their formations. Andor notices something interesting about the way they're positioned. He suggests switching Barcona and Skeen's positions because Skeen's left-handed.
Yes.
It means his primary weapon would be on his outside flank.
Oh.
Barcona dismisses it, but Vel, she picks up on what Andor's saying. She checks everyone's dominant hand and then makes the change, overruling Barcona. It's a small moment, but it tells you a lot about her. She's a strategic thinker, and she's willing to listen to anyone, even the new guy, if it means improving their chances of success.
But even with all the planning and adjustments, the tension within the group doesn't go away. It all comes to a head when Skeen confronts Andor about that kyber crystal necklace he's wearing. He accuses Andor of not being a true believer, of being in it for the wrong reasons. And that's when Vel drops a bombshell, right? She tells him she knew all along that Andor was being paid for this.
Yeah, that was a big reveal. It really throws the team for a loop. She admits she should have been more upfront about it, about Rael's involvement and Andor's payment. It's a moment that shows the complexities of operating in a rebellion. Trust is so fragile, and it's easy to break.
But despite all the drama and the mistrust, they still have a job to do, a huge one. So Vel takes charge. She's giving orders, making sure everyone knows their role. She even tells Skeen to apologize to Andor, trying to get everyone on the same page before they go in. And then comes that line, right before they infiltrate the garrison. One path, one choice. We win or everyone dies. Starts now.
Talk about leadership under pressure.
Oh, yeah. That line gives me chills. It captures the whole weight of the situation, the life or death stakes. And then Vel and Cinta, they go underwater, right? They're the ones who have to disable the garrison's communications, which is crucial to isolating the base and keeping the Empire from calling for reinforcements. And once they're inside, she's running the show. She confronts Commandant Bihaz, the guy in charge, and makes it very clear that his family's safety depends on him cooperating. Talk about intense.
And then, in the vault, with the Imperial guards all around, she doesn't flinch. She's got this steely determination. She, along with Barcona and Skeen, forced the Imperials to load the credits onto the freighter. But things start to go sideways when more Imperials arrive, and that's when the firefight breaks out.
It's a chaotic scene, and tragically, Barcona, he dies trying to help Vel. It's a brutal reminder of the sacrifices people are making in this rebellion. It's not a game, it's life and death. But they manage to escape with the credits, though Nemik, he gets badly injured during the escape.
And on Frisno, even with the Surge doing everything he can, Nemik dies. And then comes the ultimate betrayal, right? Andor pulls a blaster on them, he's leaving, taking his cut of the money. Vel is stunned, and you can see the hurt in her eyes. She thought, at least for the mission, they could trust each other. But in a way, it's a turning point for her. She gives Andor Nemik's manifesto, that book of his ideas, and it's like she's passing on a torch, maybe a hope for something better.
So Aldhani ends with a mix of victory and tragedy. They got the money, but at a huge cost. And Vel's story doesn't end there. We see her on Coruscant, meeting with Clea Markey, who's working with Luthen Rael. And that conversation takes a really dark turn, doesn't it?
Yeah, Markey tells Vel that she needs to find Andor and gives her his real name. And when Vel asks if that means killing him, Markey's response is chilling. This is what revolution looks like, Vel. It's a harsh reality check. The rebellion isn't always about noble ideals. Sometimes it means making tough, even brutal choices.
It's a side of the rebellion we don't always see, the morally gray areas. Then there's her reunion with Cinta on Ferrix, and it's clear that their relationship is strained. There's this distance between them now. Cinta's become consumed by the mission, while Vel, she seems to be longing for something more, something deeper than just the fight.
That tension between their personal feelings and their commitment to the cause, it becomes a theme in their story. Cinta's all about the mission, the practicalities of the rebellion, and it creates this rift between them. You see it again when Vel goes back to Chandrila and visits her cousin, Mon Mothma, on Coruscant.
Yeah, that visit is really revealing. We see Vel giving a gift to Mon's daughter, Leda, and then there's this private conversation between the cousins. And even with family, they have to be so careful, so secretive about their involvement in the rebellion. Like, when Mon asks about Rael, Vel's really evasive. It shows the risks they're both taking, how much they have to lose. And then there's that awkward breakfast with Mon's husband, Perrin. Vel has to play this role, this ditzy, wealthy woman who's not really interested in politics. It's amazing how she can switch it up like that, how she can be so adaptable.
It's like she's living a double life, always aware of who's watching, what she can say. And that whole idea of playing a role, it continues when she visits Rael's shop. Clay is there, and they have to pretend like Vel's just a regular customer, even though she's trying to pass on information about Andor's mother dying on Ferrix. They use coded language, these subtle hints and gestures. It's a reminder of how dangerous their world is, how the Empire is always watching.
And then you have that scene where Vel and Mon are watching Lyda's traditional Chandrilan ceremony. And you can see on their faces they're not really into it. It's subtle, but it hints at their more progressive beliefs, how they might not agree with all these traditions. And then, back on Ferrix, Vel meets up with Cinta again. And the distance between them is still there. Cinta is laser-focused on their surveillance of Andor's old place. Vel even meets with Rael again to discuss how to handle Andor. It's clear she's still deeply involved in the rebellion, even though it's taking a personal toll.
And then comes that powerful moment when Vel witnesses the riot on Rick's Road. the one that breaks out after Marva's funeral. She's not directly involved, but when Cinta comes back with blood on her arm, it's chilling. You know what that means. Cinta killed that ISB agent. It's a turning point for her, and it pushes her and Vel even further apart.
So after all that, after everything we've learned, how would you describe Vel Sartha's personality? What are the things that drive her?
I think at her heart, Vel is a leader, a natural one. She's got this confidence. It probably comes from her upbringing, from that privileged life she left behind. But she's also deeply committed to the rebellion, to fighting for what's right. She's willing to follow orders, even when she disagrees, like with Andor. And she's fiercely protective of her team. She cares about them, even though she can be tough, even ruthless when she needs to be.
Yeah, and her dedication to the rebellion is serious. She's willing to sacrifice everything for it, her comfort, her relationships, maybe even her life. Remember how shocked she was when Skeen betrayed them? It shows that she believed in her team, that she trusted them, and that betrayal, it really hurt her.
And her relationship with Cinta, that's a big part of her story. They started out so close, so connected. But after Aldhani, things changed. Their priorities shifted. Cinta became all about the mission, and Vel, she wanted something more. It created this distance between them that they never really bridged. And it all goes back to her childhood, to Chandrila. She saw the Empire's injustices, and it made her reject that life of privilege, that world that didn't care about what was right.
And her relationship with Mon Mothma, that's another important piece of the puzzle. They're more than just cousins, you know? They understand each other, they share the burden of leadership, the secrets they have to keep. And Vel's so good at playing the game, pretending to be someone she's not, like when she's with Mon's husband or at Rael's shop. It shows how smart she is, how she can adapt to any situation.
Right. And we can't forget about her equipment, the tools of the trade, so to speak. During Aldhani, she had that cool collapsible blaster rifle, the BK-43. And she can rock any look, whether it's those local goat herder clothes on Aldhani or the fancy robes she wears on Coruscant. It's a reminder that she's constantly shifting between these two worlds, the rebellion and the world of privilege she left behind.
So Vel Sartha, she's this complex character, shaped by her past, driven by her ideals, and constantly evolving. And with Andor Season 2 coming up, it makes you wonder, what's next for her? What role will she play in the fight against the Empire? Will she and Cinta ever find their way back to each other?
Those are the big questions, right? After everything she's been through, all the choices she's made, what's her future going to look like? It makes you think about the cost of rebellion, the sacrifices people make, and the toll it takes on them. And how do you, the listener, see Vel's journey unfolding? What choices do you think she'll make, and what does her story tell us about the fight for freedom in the Star Wars galaxy?
It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? And it's a reminder that even in a galaxy far, far away, even in a story about epic battles and space wizards, it's the human stories, the personal struggles and triumphs that really resonate. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible story of Vel Sartha.